Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very special edition of the Brew Party podcast. You know how much we love talking Illini. I'm a huge Illini fan, lifelong Illini fan. Couldn't think of anybody better to get on the podcast to talk about Illini basketball. Living legend, four-time All Big Ten, Illinois basketball all-time leading scorer, all-century team, Hall of Famer in Illini athletics, only player in program history to score over 2,000 points. Deon Thomas joins the Brew Party podcast. Deon, I'm so excited to have you. How you doing today?
Hey, Andy, I appreciate you having me on. Man, I need to carry you around in my pocket. So
Hey.
when I meet somebody, I can I just put you out in front of them and that's what you say. That was a great intro. Appreciate it.
Hey, I'm all in on that, Deon. Whenever you need me, I'll record something for you. I know you're going to be at the tournament following the Illini around, so whenever you need it, you just let me know. I'm all in. It's March. It's everyone's favorite time of the year. I know specifically me. The Illini are rolling. They won their first Big Ten title, secured a 1 seed for the first time since 2005. What's it been like for you, to be one of the only people that's really gotten to see this team in person play all year?
Let me start off by saying this, man. I want to go back to last year and then progress forward because 2 years ago, 21 losses, most losses in school history. A lot of people were down on this Illini team. I remember sitting down with Coach Chen Coleman, and he was like, Deon, he's like, this is the group that's going to turn everything around. He's like, I promise you that. I've known Chen for a long time. We worked together at UIC. So, and I know he knows the game. I know he understands recruiting, so I believed him.
Right.
Not just because those are the words that came out of his mouth, but because I saw the potential in this team. Last year's team should have been in the dance.
Right.
I thought they had a great chance of winning the Big Ten last year. They peaked at the right time. They grew as a group. And then you fast forward to this year's team. Yes, we're missing some seniors, Andre Philippe, of course, Kipper Nichols, guys that were really important to the program, and we replaced them with freshmen.
Right.
We get the return of Kofi and Ayo. Everybody in the Illini Nation, and not just Illini Nation, in the country goes berserk and throws us immediately in the mix at the top of the heap. And people are like, yeah, Deon, what do you think? And I'm like, well, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Right. I agree with you. I think we will be there at the end. We will be one of the best teams in the country, but I don't really like depending on freshmen because I knew we swapped out 2 seniors for 2 freshmen that were going to be hugely important for us. Fast forward to today, man, I couldn't be happy enough for the growth of those 2 freshmen. No, I shouldn't say 2 freshmen because I had to go throw Coleman in there too. Mm-hmm. Of those 3 freshmen, how the veterans have stepped up to coach them up, to teach them, to guide them, to pull them along to where they are right now. And then for our seniors to be the leaders that they are, to be the amazing role players that they are and be so great at their roles, to see the work and the growth of those guys, to see Ayo's growth, to see Kofi's growth and development on the court and how they have become the true leaders that we expected them to be. Man, I asked Brian Barnhart the other day, I say, man, I just want to be a part of that. Do you think they would catch me if I would go in the locker room and throw on one of the extra jerseys and come out here and play? And of course, he said, yes, he thought I'd stand out. And plus, he told me he wanted me to stay up there with him. So I didn't do it. But, man, I can't be more excited than what Coach Underwood and the staff has done and how this team has come together. I mean, it's just amazing to watch them from beginning to where they are now. And to be quite frankly honest, Andy, I don't think we're as good as we can be. I think we still have some growth in there. And in my opinion, we're playing the best basketball in the NCAA right now.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. I love what you said about peaking at the right time. And that's what they were doing last year. I mean, definitely within the program, they seemed very confident. They were ready to make a run in the Big Ten tournament, like you said. And then who knows what would have happened in the NCAA. We fast forward to now, they're peaking at the right time again. We just saw them rip off those 3 excellent games in the Big Ten tournament. And now they're getting ready. They're a trendy pick around the country as a 1 seed to win the national championship game. I've seen a lot of people. Your guy Stephen Bardo has them winning the title. I saw that on Twitter last night. So when was the last time you were this excited about Illini basketball?
Oh, 05?
Yeah, right.
Oh, 05?
Yeah.
I mean, we went through some dark days there, man.
Mhm.
We went through some dark days, and then when Coach Underwood came in, and I was always told things sometimes get worse before they get better, and that's exactly what happened. They tend to look a little worse as he was sprinkling his pixie dust on this team, and wham, you get the fairies come out, man. And I mean, where we are right now is amazing. And you're right, a lot of people nationally, which I don't know how you missed this, seeing we're in the Midwest, and so our games aren't on like in the whether you're on the Pac-12 or whether you're a Big East ACC team. Our games are on prime time where everybody has an opportunity to watch them. But some of the national people missed it. A lot of the national people missed it, and I still don't believe we get the respect that we deserve. I mean, I think, in my opinion, Illinois should be the second number one, and not the third number one. I mean, they lost to Baylor in a game that for 36, 37 minutes, Illinois was in that game. And a lot of the time controlled that game. And this was early in the season. Now, we're so much better than what we were then. We won the Big Ten. They should be the second number one. Give Gonzaga their due respect. They went undefeated. They should stay where they are. But so nationally, I still don't believe we are getting the love and the respect that we should. But that's okay. Yeah. As you can see, these guys are playing with a chip on their shoulder. They showed what they were going to do. What they said they did what they said they were going to do in the Big Ten. And I have nothing but confidence in them moving forward to show everyone once they get on this NCAA stage.
Right. How much do you think that success, like in the Big Ten tournament, will translate to the big dance? I mean, you talk about playing those 3 games in 3 days, and then now if you got to win 6 more, do you think fatigue becomes a factor here, or is it just all like determination at this point, like keeping your eyes on that goal?
It's a lot. There is a physical aspect to it, but it's more a mental aspect than a physical aspect. And with these guys being as young as they are, man, they can rebound fast with the modern technology that they have with all these compression boots and cold tubs and all this smart stuff that they do today that they didn't do in my day.
Yeah.
That they do now. I mean, I don't think the physical aspect of it will be an issue. And this team has shown the mental fortitude, the focus, the drive. And like I said, they're playing right now with a chip on their shoulder. So I think the Big Ten has done nothing but, fighting in that last game into overtime with Ohio State has done nothing but prepare them for the tournament. Now, the issue is, I don't know if everyone else is prepared for Illinois. I mean, because you can watch Kofi Cockburn on tape. Try to imitate him with some guys that are in your practice. There's no one in the country like Kofi Cockburn. You can try to simulate the speed of Jet Dusumu, but you can't, because there's almost no one that's like him. You can try to do the wave the magic wand as Andre Curbelo does.
Man.
There's no one like him. So you can try. And I have experience of practicing in the NCAA tournaments. Man, you get an hour. Or you're walking through in your hotel facility. You can't prepare. And that's the scary thing for other teams. And that's the plus for Illinois.
Absolutely. So as somebody that, has played in multiple NCAA tournaments, what's the mindset like? Is it different the whole time as it would be from just a regular game? Like when you're trying to get up, I guess?
No, you definitely don't have to get up. I mean, it's the NCAA tournament. You know it's one loss or go home. And when you've been riding on a wave, let's use Illinois, for example, you've been riding on a wave like that. Going home is the last thing that you want to do. I mean, just remember back, who was it? Was it Villanova that lost to the 16 seed? Virginia.
Virginia lost to UMBC. Yeah.
Yeah, you remember how how ugly that was.
Yeah.
Everybody else remembers how ugly that was too. You can guarantee that's one of the things. I wouldn't say that's front and center in their mind, but it's there, and they know that it's a possibility. They understand. I feel that they know they have to focus on this, that they have to be driven, and they have to take it one game at a time. You can't be looking at a Loyola, or I forget who Loyola's playing.
Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. You can't be looking past Drexel at Loyola or Georgia Tech. They understand, as Coach Underwood said, that it's game by game. And they asked him. I saw a report the other day, and they say, "Well, yeah, Coach, what about playing Loyola Chicago or this or that?" He was like, "I don't even know who else is in my bracket." He was like, "All I know is that we have to play Drexel." And that's the mindset that you have to go into. Be prepared for who you're playing against that day.
Absolutely. So one guy we talked about a few guys, but we'll start with Kofi because you're a big man. He's a big man. You said there's nothing like him in the country. Like even going back to your playing days, can you think of anybody like as physically imposing as him on the court?
One person, that's the Diesel, Shaquille O'Neal. That is the absolute only person that I can remember. I mean, you can even go back to when LSU had the Twin Towers with Robinson and Shaquille O'Neal. They were even different. You don't
Mhm.
see someone with the strength and athleticism that Kofi has, or that Shaquille O'Neal had. I think the only difference, maybe a slight difference in skill levels, because Shaq had been playing longer than Kofi has been playing,
Mhm.
but you don't see very many people like this. I mean, if you see that big man get up, down the court, man, he's one of the guys that wins sprints in practice. He's beating guards up and down the court. So you don't see someone with that power, that explosion, that explosiveness, that quickness, just every day. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
And I mean, and so no, he's an anomaly, man. And I'm just glad he plays for us.
Absolutely, dude. It's just scary. You just get out of the way when he's when he's coming down the court.
Oh,
Uh
100.
what do you think he's improved on the most in his second year in the program?
I am a firm believer, having played this game, having coached this game, and now broadcasting this game, is you build a house from the base up. So the best thing that I see from Kofi is his feet. If you remember last year, people would talk about how he finished and it wasn't with power. That wasn't because of his upper body. That's not because he's 7 feet, 285, 290 pounds with only 9% body fat. It wasn't that. It was his feet. His base was too narrow. Now his footwork, I don't know if he's been taking dancing lessons from Georgie or if it's just all Coach O that's been working on him with his feet, but he has a firmer base, a wider base. During one of the broadcasts, I called him Twinkle Toes because he
Yeah.
was able to spin and move, which he could not have done last year.
Hmm.
So his feet is the biggest and the most important growth that I've seen in Kofi. Another thing, of course, is his ability to be able to finish around the basket with his left hand, right hand, which he could not do last year. He would force the ball with shooting with his right hand, and right hand basically only. He is definitely not that guy anymore in the growth. And the last thing I would say, not that he didn't have it last year, but I appreciate it when I watch how he's officiated this year, is his calm. I mean, that kid is so zen like when he's out there on the floor and he's getting the crap beat out of him by the bigs on the other team, the guards on the other team, and the referees aren't calling the fouls the way they should because he's so much bigger, stronger, faster than everyone else. They're not calling them. But to see those three things and see it in someone that has progressed so quickly, it has been very impressive.
Absolutely. And I think even as the season's gone on, the way he's been officiated has changed a little bit. And if it hasn't, he's been able to adjust to it pretty seamlessly. I know Brad Underwood has been pretty upset about the way he's officiated. He calls it ridiculous
Yes.
multiple times. But yeah, I think Kofi has been incredible this year. Do you think we get him back next year? I know there's maybe talk of him putting together a National Player of the Year campaign of his own.
I hope so. and I hope so for him, not necessarily for Illinois. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it'll definitely benefit us if he comes back, but for him, I think he should, because there are several holes in his game that he needs to get better at. And his jump shot shooting, of course, being able to step away and do some pick and pop stuff, needs to get better in the pick and roll. Needs to continue to improve his low post game, because on this level you're bigger, stronger, faster than everybody else, but on the next level you got some guys that are just as big, just as fast as you are.
Mm-hmm.
And just continue to grow his knowledge of the game, being able to feed out of pass out of double posts, I mean, double teams and things of that nature. So there's some things that he still needs to improve on. And I would hate to see him go and not get drafted high enough so then they have him playing in the G League or something of that nature, which is totally, I believe, would be totally counterproductive for him. So I'd love to see him come back just to improve those things on a personal basis. Now, from the standard of the university, I think he would put us back in a top 10 setting, maybe even top 5 when he comes back next year, because we have a heck of a recruiting class coming in. And to see him another year of development with a full off season, working with Orlando, working with Fletch, and just to see where he could be, I don't know how you don't put him in the player of the year conversations in both the Big Ten and nationally.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, preach, like everything you just said. I can't say anything else. So you can't talk about this team without talking about Io. I would assume he's been, in my opinion, the player of the year, the best player in the country this year. I think just most complete. I mean, you look at the numbers. First person to put up 20 plus points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists since Evan Turner. He's just like unstoppable. He's the closer. He has his highlight reel of just daggers, game-winning shots is more than really any Illini that I can remember. What has been your favorite part about watching him this year and just kind of like his growth, especially from last year? You talk about how well he's shooting the 3, and you can just tell how much work he really put in the offseason.
Well, everyone will point out all of the things that he's doing on the basketball court. I love where he has evolved into the leader that he is.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, he wasn't a very vocal leader. He was more of a leader by example. He was the guy, he'd be your best player, but yet he's diving on the floor. He'd be the first one out on the floor when they came out for warm-ups or shoot-arounds. He was the first one. So he led by example. This year, you see him leading verbally. And to be a true leader, you need both. And he's done that. If you listen to Andre Cabello, if you listen to Trent, or you listen to Ace, Adam Miller, they all give and pay respect to him about the leadership that he does, the things that he tells them. Brad was telling a story, I don't know if you heard it, the other day when the team went into overtime against Ohio State. And some of the guys on the bench were down. And this goes directly towards what I'm talking about. So Io walks over and he's like, "Man, why are you guys down?" And this is me. This isn't verbatim. He walks over to the bench. "Hey, why are you guys down? Get your heads up. Be happy. Smile at the fact that we got 5 more minutes to play." So it's a complete turnaround of how you're feeling to understanding that, hey, this is a good thing. It's a good thing. So he's a positive leader. He gets in guys' faces when he has to, but yet he hugs them when he has to at the same time. So that's where I love to see the most. That's why I see the most growth. I mean, the other stuff, he's one of the hardest workers that we've had wear orange and blue. I mean, his work ethic is historical. I mean, you see his videos, you see all of the things that they put online, and that's another thing that's impressive. Hey, man, dude's a social media beast.
Production value on that video was up there, man. That was nice.
Oh man, I mean, hey, that I'm returning video. I mean, that was almost as good as I'm taking my talents to South Beach. I mean, to see the picture he posted, the rendition of him in the bathroom
and Kobe, yeah, that was awesome.
Man, come on, that kid's social media. Yeah, okay, The only person that might be close to him right now is Juju Smith-Schuster.
There you go.
Thank God he's in another sport. But hey, but the guy lights out, man. But his leadership on the serious side, his leadership and watching him grow from that standpoint, in my opinion, far surpasses all of the other stuff. And he has taken leaps and bounds by what he does on the basketball court.
Absolutely. So what does he have to do to like cement himself as an all-time Illini great, or do you think he's already there?
Well, he's already an Illini great. I mean,
Mhm.
that's not even in question.
Right.
Um, and it's not all just stuff that he's done on the basketball court. When he decided to stay home, Illinois was probably at its darkest that it had ever been, this program. That young man could have gone almost anywhere in the country, but he says, no, I'm staying home to raise the standards of my state school. That's huge
Yeah.
because that's not that doesn't happen today.
Mhm.
So for him to do that really shows his character and what he's about mentally. And as he's quoted multiple times, and I love it. He says he's not chasing championships; he's chasing greatness, and that's one of the things that makes you great by not doing what everyone wants you to do, but you're bucking the system, and then you becoming even more successful than what you would have been in the system.
Right.
Uh, and that's where you stand out and you become special. Now, what he's done on the basketball court, I mean, come on now, you mentioned it earlier, and I'm throwing myself in there included.
Mhm.
I didn't finish like him. I mean, I don't know anybody that has worn an orange and blue uniform. So he is the ultimate assassin when it comes to closing out games at Illinois. And so he's already firmly cemented himself as one of the best to ever wear that uniform.
Is so talking about clutch shots here for just real quick, is that just something that just comes naturally to some guys? Like, or like, do you work on that? Like, or is that just something like he's just got something special where in the clutch, or like you always talk about big shot Bob, Robert Horry always seemed to hit a big shot in the NBA. Like, is it just come natural to some guys like that?
Well, no, first and foremost, let me answer that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that does because you have a lot of people that are a part of the pack, and then you have a very few number of people that are alphas. You have to have the mentality to be an alpha.
Mhm.
You got guys that can make great shots. I mean, I had a couple teammates throughout my career that if you took us and put us in an open gym setting, they'd be the best players in the open gym. But then you take us and you put us in where the TV cameras are on and the lights are flashing,
Mhm.
they're like Casper. That friendly ghost that you don't even notice is out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is a you have to have it internally in you to be an alpha, and you can't be afraid to take the last shot. Most guys might say they want to, but there are very few guys that actually want to.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that young man wants the ball in his hands at the end of the game, whether we're winning or losing. He wants the ball in his hands at the end of the game, and that's a special individual.
Absolutely. Another guy you talked about was Curbelo. I just really have one question about him, and I think you probably already answered it. Really, like how do you think he was able to mature so quickly throughout the year? You know, obviously he's flashy. He makes passes that nobody else in the country can make. Where you just go, there's so many times where he will pull something off, and I go, or just like, what just happened? It's just amazing. And you'll hear the broadcast. I mean, you and Brian Barnhart will go nuts. The TV guys will go nuts. How do you think he was able to kind of rein that all in and limit the turnovers and really, he's scoring the basketball at a high clip as of late? Like, do you attribute that to Io and Trent stepping up as leaders, or, more of him just kind of getting more into the flow of the offense and the team?
Well, let me start off by saying this, and I don't know if you're a Cub fan like I am. I love Javi Baez.
Yeah.
As you know, his nickname is El Mago,
Yeah.
which means the magician.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I had to push Javi to the side, take that name and give it to Andre Curbelo because he is the magician.
Yeah.
Things he does is absolutely just fascinating how he can make those things happen. Now, you ask about his growth. the first and foremost, let's understand, and a lot of people don't have an opportunity, especially with COVID, to be able to sit down with this young man. His basketball IQ is off the charts, off the charts. The way he sees the game is off the charts. Some of those turnovers, a lot of those turnovers happen because he would see things. And to be honest, if he threw the ball off someone's foot, it's because they didn't know it was coming.
Yeah. I
And they
believe
just
that.
happened to be
I
standing there.
believe that 100%.
Yeah. And they'd happen to be standing there and it'll hit their foot and bounce out of bounds. Or he would make a pass that, our guys wasn't expecting to catch and it was there. So he has a natural innate ability to do those things. But even with that, you're stepping up from high school to college,
Yeah.
and even more so playing in the best conference in the land in the Big Ten. So you need teachers and you need people to teach you what to do, when to do it, how to do it. So he took lessons, yes, and he said it multiple times from Trent Frazier, from Demonte Williams, from Io DeSumo, from Chin Coleman and Coach and Brad, Coach Underwood. He's taken these lessons from all of these people, and then you take that and you sprinkle it into what you're doing every day in practice. His biggest growth, and this doesn't get talked about, is he's a heck of a defender.
Yeah.
On ball, oh my gosh, he is a gnat. He is in guys. He's being a pest. All of those things. So his biggest growth has been on the defensive end. The offensive side, he just had to understand when and where and how to do those things. Because he was before early getting far too deep into the paint and then didn't really have recourse to get out.
Right.
Now he still gets deep, but he knows the places to be able to get out. He knows how to be able to figure out and find shots for himself or for others. That comes with time. That comes with work. That
Mhm.
comes with the lessons that you're getting from your veterans and from your coaches. And he's taken all of that and he's applied it to his game. And it's so funny, you're right, to hear the national guys now
Yeah.
see and know this kid and who he is. I mean, he's a superstar.
Yeah. I think he's going to be another one that's going to go down as an all-time Illini great. You can already see it. You were talking about role players earlier, and I think this team has ultimate role players here. You talk about a guy like Georgie, who, last year struggled to find his role, didn't really know his place on the team. Now he's solidified it. He's in there. He'll give you the minutes if Kofi needs a break, and you don't have to be worried about it. You know what you're going to get. I mean, we saw his incredible stretch there in the Big Ten championship
Oh yeah.
game, and then Demonte Williams is the guy that's never complained. He's going to come in. He's going to dive for the ball. He's going to rebound. Whatever Coach Underwood needs, Demonte will do it. And then you talk about his three-point shooting. Have you ever seen a guy or been around a guy that has improved their jump shooting that much in that seems like a short period of time?
You know what? Let's start with Devontae, and this is, I still talk to a lot of the Illinois basketball players that are from Peoria,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I believe those guys are guys that I trust. They're like Deon. We've been trying to get him to shoot for the last 2 to 3 years. So according to them, this isn't new.
Okay.
This is just Demonte finally stepping out and having the confidence to do it. But you're 100% right. I think our guys that our role players
Mm-hmm.
are some of the best in the country. And let's start with Trent Frazier because that's where it starts.
Yes.
Trent Frazier, as a freshman, lit up the scoreboards, lit them up. Then Brad comes in and Brad says, "Hey, well, I know you can score, but I need you to do this." So what does he do? He becomes one of in my opinion, he should have been Big Ten Player of the Defensive Player of the Year this year.
Absolutely.
I guess I didn't have enough. I didn't have enough votes when I voted, so my one just didn't push him over. But should have been Defensive Player of the Year. The growth in his 4 years of where he is and him accepting his role and being the best at it, I think sprinkled down. Well, and Demonte as well sprinkled down to everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Georgie as well, huge freshman year. Kofi comes in, takes him a little bit of time to, well, first of all, he embraces Kofi,
Hmm.
and helps Kofi to understand what he needs to do and how he needs to get better. He showed a selflessness to be able to help the team by helping Kofi. Did it detract from him a little bit? Yes, it did, because he had to figure himself out. And like you said, right now, I mean, Georgie walks on the floor, everybody's happy to see him
Hmm.
because he brings an energy, he brings a disruptiveness that not very many people in the country have, or that very many people do. Granderson, what he has done since he's been not just inserted into the starting lineup, but even what he was doing when he was coming off the bench. Coleman Hawkins, when he's in there, I mean, young fellas blocking shots, playing great defense, rebounding, playing with great energy. And then, of course, you got the Adam Miller. Adam
Yeah.
Miller's a big time scorer, and not a volume shooter,
Hmm.
a big time scorer. But what has he done? Coach Underwood said, "Hey, I know you can put the ball in the basket. I need you to play some defense." He's becoming that outstanding defender, on ball defender, and has gotten a ton better in his team defense. So
Hmm.
all of those guys have bought into being their piece, their individual piece of the puzzle, which has Illinois where it is. And as you saw, when Io got hurt, Nebraska, Adam Miller steps up big time. The next two games, he played solid. But then Andre Curbelo stepped up big time from a scoring standpoint.
Hmm.
And so you see those guys, and then Granderson had a double-double thrown in there too. So you see these guys all step up, recognize, and play their position. I know Kofi and I know Io get the majority of the attention, but
Right.
man, those guys are the reason why we're where we are today. Because I always say this, even when I was coaching, stars normally cancel out the other stars. What do the next group of guys do? Because
Right.
that's what's going to push you over. And these guys have truly stepped up and just have been amazing for the Illini this year.
Absolutely, man. I mean, you hit it the nail on the head. And I think for me, what's been impressive with Miller as well is how he's been able to rebound the basketball. I
Yes.
mean, I've on your guys on the radio pregame the past few games, I've with the interview with Underwood, he's mentioned Adam Miller every time and how impressed he has been with his play. I think it's been great. I mean, obviously, you talk about the beginning of the year, he has that flash that with 28-point performance, and we're like, okay, are we going to get this all year? Obviously, it didn't happen, but that doesn't mean he was still incredible. He was still a freshman, started every game for us in the toughest conference in the nation, like you said. So I want to ask you a couple questions about Georgie because I know you guys have a pretty special moment together. So from his freshman year, he broke your single game scoring record for a freshman, and you were on the call for that game. What was that like for you to watch him, break your record?
Well, first and foremost, I'm their biggest cheerleader. And I told Coach the other day, keep recruiting the way you're doing so they can break them all. It takes me back to what Eddie Johnson did for me. When I broke Eddie Johnson's record back in 1994,
Mhm.
that very evening, I hadn't even left the locker room yet, and I got a phone call from Eddie congratulating me on breaking his all-time record. I would love to be able to do that with every single record that I hold at the University of Illinois. Is to be able to do what I did with Georgie when he broke the single game scoring record, and do what I did with Kofi when he broke the single game rebounding record. Is
Right.
to walk out on the floor and give those guys huge hugs and congratulate them on doing so. And the reason is, when you get into this game, I didn't play until I was in high school. I was a freshman in high school when I started playing. But
Mhm.
you have some people that have been playing this game since basically they could breathe. So to be able to reach that height where you're breaking an all-time record, I would love to have that for every single person playing this game because it's
Yeah,
such a special moment. But you can't.
absolutely. Yeah.
But so when you have those moments, that record stood, if I'm not mistaken, for almost 30 years. If Georgie, well, hopefully he won't have it for 30 years because
Yeah.
that means there's another really good freshman that came in and had another great game. Um, but to be able for those guys to have that, I want to celebrate that with them. I want to celebrate it for them because there's a lot of work that goes into
Mhm.
being able to do it. There's a lot of sacrifice that goes into being able to do it. And for those guys to be able to do it is nothing short of a joy for me.
Absolutely, man. That's so awesome that especially for you to be there, for you to still be like so close to the
Yes.
program. Incredible. Do you think somebody's going to eclipse that 2,100 point mark?
You know, in this day and age, it's going to be hard.
Hmm.
And it's going to be hard simply because nowadays, if you have, and I encourage them to,
Hmm.
if you're able to go to the NBA and set yourself and your family up for life, then you very well you go ahead and do it.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know if there'll be somebody that'll come in as a freshman and put up 2,000 points in 2 years. I
Yeah. 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 That's,
just
that's
don't think
tough.
that can happen.
That's
So I hope so. I hope so. I hope someone stays around long enough to get it. If it takes them 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, I hope so. But in today's age and how things work, probably not.
Gotcha. So I got one last question about the radio broadcast, and I want to talk about your career a little bit because I'm very curious about that. Can you just describe the scene at the Big Ten championship game? I guess throughout the whole Big Ten tournament, really, like what it was like for you guys just hear the roar of that crowd again. For I'm sure the energy in the building was electric. It's not full capacity, social distance, but still 8,000 people there. Like I'm sure that was just amazing.
It was, and you never know what you miss until you don't have it.
Right.
And that's we could say we missed having fans. I'll give you just a little story. What kind of grabbed me first. I was in the hospitality room when Ohio State and Purdue were playing. So I'm standing and I'm getting coffee
Right.
from the Keurig, and as soon as I took my coffee cup off of the Keurig, there was a big play. So there was this huge roar from the crowd, and I jumped and kind of spilled my coffee, and then I had to remember that we have close to 8,000 people in the gym.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh my God!" I mean, I got super excited about it. And then when we started our game, to watch all of the orange clad people come walking in, and they're walking in, and I mean, and they're sitting way up on the rooftops, but yet they're still coming in. I'm like, and I looked over at Brian, and I say, "Man, I never knew how much I missed hearing the clapping of hands." Or the roar of a voice. I was like, I didn't realize how much I missed it until then. So as you mentioned, the energy was electric. Having the people come in, stop by, pat us on the shoulder, saying hello as they go by, little kids coming up asking for photos and pictures with myself and Brian. It's just amazing. I mean, there's no better atmosphere than that.
Absolutely, man. I mean, me watching here in my living room where I'm at right now, just losing my mind in overtime. I'm sure it was even crazier for you guys on the call. What's it like calling games with Brian Barnhart? Because he's a legend too. Like anytime I hear his voice, I just think Illini. I almost get goosebumps when he gets excited. A big play happens. There's just nothing like it.
I'll tell you this. I posted a tweet of a picture while we were broadcasting. I kind of did the long selfie stick and took a
Yeah.
picture of us. And my post was working something along the lines of working this job, working this with the best in the business. Brian Barnhart is the best in the business. Anytime you walk up and you have guys from CBS, guys from Fox, when I did it my first year, when I
Mhm.
started my first year, come up to me and say, "Man, you're working with the best in the business." And then you learn these things and you sit and you watch him, you see how he prepares, you see how he puts an emphasis on something that's taking place in the game, and then you hear him pronounce some of these names that are ha. you,
Yeah.
you sit back and and I sit back and I'm just marveled by how easy he makes it look.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about all of the natural things that Curbelo or Io
Yeah.
or Kofi does. Man, Brian Barnhart does the same thing, man. It's just amazing. It's amazing.
Absolutely. So that was great talk about the Illini. Let's talk about you when you played for the Illini. So you started at Simeon High School. You won a Chicago City League title there as a junior. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. What was Chicago high school basketball back then? Like,
Well,
what was it like?
let's go back a little further. I won one my freshman year too.
Oh, all right. Yeah, let's go. 2 times. Sorry. I'm
So,
sorry.
at that time we only had JV and varsity. So my
Oh, yeah.
freshman year we won the JV city championship. So
Let's
I always,
go.
no one pays attention to that one, but I always like to throw it in there anyway. No, but Chicago basketball, CPS, Chicago Public League basketball is what it is. I mean, it's an institution. If you go through the history of the Chicago Public League, whether you're on the north side, west side, south side, east side, it doesn't matter where you are, there have always been a history of great players. None short than during that time. I mean, I was playing, of course, against Juwan Howard. You had the Michael Finley. I mean, you had tons of guys that
Yeah.
that were just there that have gone on to have tremendous NBA careers and tremendous careers like myself overseas. And then you had some that didn't make it, and didn't make it out of the city. So basketball in Chicago, man, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, we were happiest to win the city championship than we were concerned about the state championship because we knew at that time it was, one team got out of the city.
Right.
Out of 2A, that was one team. So this is why Simeon doesn't have more or didn't have more because we ended up having to bump each other out seemingly every year. So
Yeah.
to win that city championship was amazing. I mean, we still carry it around with a source of pride. When you had the old guys like myself get together, we still sit around and talk crap about who beat who and how
Yeah.
we dominated them. So all of that history is still there, man. So it was amazing at that time, and it still is today because a lot of those guys we're all friends. We weren't friends then. At least I wasn't friends with them then. We're friends now.
Did you ever have like a go up against a friend like on a different team and you kind of have to change your mindset going in the game? Like we're not friends on the court.
Oh, always,
Oh
always.
yeah.
Hold on. When I say always, I mean always. When we were in practice, you weren't my friend in practice. I'm sorry. If you got the
Yeah.
jersey on than I have on, I'm sorry, you in trouble. Nobody, Avery, Avery Stewart was one of my best friends. We played against each other almost every day in practice. Antoine Johnson, God rest his soul, one of my best friends, but they had to defend me every day in practice. I wanted to kill them every day in practice, and they wanted to kill me every day in
Yeah.
practice. That's just that's how Simeon. Well, I can't speak for other schools. I can speak for Simeon.
Mhm.
That's how we were. That's how we were taught. That's how we were raised from freshman all the way through to our senior year. When we would have to play JV against varsity, you think Nick Anderson and Irvin Small and them took it easy on me?
Hell no.
Oh, heck no. No, they were killing me with elbows, the whole nine. I mean, so that just carried on over to Illinois. When I got to Illinois, it was the same thing.
Hmm.
Okay, what jersey you have on today? Oh, your jersey's blue and mine is orange. I'm killing you. You'll walk on, I'm killing you. I mean, it doesn't matter. Then same
Yes.
thing carried over to the professional level. I mean, and my wife gets on me sometimes. I was 7-time All-Star in Europe.
Hmm.
I played in 2 All-Star games. And I only played in 2 after being chosen as an All-Star because I can't do the friendly basketball thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let him go to the basket and dunk. Yeah, it's for sure. No, it's not. And that's the I guess the competitor in me. I guess that's the years of my bless you.
Thank you.
That's the years of my brother beating me down, and I couldn't wait till I could beat him, and then it just carried over, like I said, to Simeon and everything else.
Yeah.
I couldn't do those. That's why I love seeing these guys out on the court now and how much fun they have. I mean, if you look at a picture of me when I was playing, I don't think I smiled the whole game.
Just mean mugging the whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think I don't remember smiling the whole game. Now, after the game and before the game, we good. When
Yeah.
we step out on that rectangle, no, no, no.
So when you get to Illinois, you play for Lou Henson, legendary Lou Henson, rest in peace. What was that like, man? Like, I'm sure you have countless stories. Was there any certain thing he would ever say to you, in practice or in a game, that he knew would really get you going?
Well, and say again, that goes back to um, how I was raised in the game of basketball. He
Okay.
didn't really have to say anything to me, because when I stepped on the court, I was coming at you,
Hmm.
and I expected you to come at me, and I think that did nothing but fuel it. But coach was always on me, and as being the best player on the team, he was always on me, nitpicking about small things.
Right.
Because if he could nitpick with small things on me, then he could do it to other people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I believe that was the philosophy behind it. But he was always on me about being a better defender. He was always on me about making sure didn't move when I was setting screens. But I remember the one story. Well, I'll give you one story. Two. I'll give you two. One, coach and I are sitting down, we're talking, and this is after practice, and he says, "Well, Deon, I need you to become a better defender." I'm like, "Well, coach, I'm leading I'm just about one of the I'm leading the team, and I think I was maybe either first or second in the Big Ten in block shots. So I throw that out there, and he says, "Well, that's what I mean, Deon. If you were a better defender, you wouldn't have to block so many shots." So, but he was 100% right,
Yeah.
because he went on to say, "Well, if your guy didn't get the ball, then you wouldn't have to block his shots. You need to deny the guy from getting the ball." And I'm like, "All right, coach." And he was 100% right. Now I don't know if I ever became that as good a defender as he wanted me to be, but he was definitely right in saying so. And another one, it was really about knowing your place, or doing your job, and not doing the job of others. So we win. I can't remember if it was Northwestern or Ohio State, but we win the game. I'm in the locker room. I'm excited because I had a triple double, almost a triple double. I was one assist away from having a triple double, one or two assists away from having a triple double. So I'm talking to Coach Jimmy Collins.
Yeah.
Rest his when God rest him as well. And coach looks at me, he's like, "Oh, so you happy about that, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I almost had a triple double. Of course I am." So he called Coach Henson over, and he says, "Well, hey," he's like, "Coach, Deon had 9 assists and he's happy." Coach looked over at me immediately and was like, "Well, hey, that's not your job. That's 9 more shots you could have had." And I'm like, "Hold on, we won and I got 9 assists.
Yeah.
That's not why I brought you here. That's somebody else's job. You do your job." And I'm like, "Okay." I don't recall having more than 2 assists a game, man.
I mean, coach told you not to. He told you to put it up when you get it. So
And when I say not, I don't think I ever had more than 2 assists, period, like the rest of my playing career,
do
because
you
that wasn't my job.
yeah, do you think that speaks to like how different basketball is today? Because like, I mean, it's not every big man's job to pass and get a bunch of assists. But if you think about the NBA, like a guy like Nikola Jokic is almost like a point center these days, and there are a lot of guys that have to be able to keep the ball up and get it out of the paint if they're swarming. Especially, you look at a guy like Kofi. The guys are just sending the rush into the paint when he gets the ball. How much has the game changed? I guess that's really my question from when like your playing days till now.
Well, you have to kind of separate when you say my playing days, and the reason I say that is, remember, I went to Europe afterwards.
Right.
My
Yeah. Yeah.
playing my playing days in the United States, as compared to now, is night and day. The only thing that's happened now is the European game has found its way to the United States.
Okay.
I remember my first game, when I got to Spain. I'm guarding a guy from, I think he was from Serbia, or Russia, one of those countries. And we're in transition, and he doesn't, run to the paint and turn around like you're taught as a big guy and dump it down low. He stops at the 3 point line and knocks down the three. Go down. This happens a couple other times. He stops and he hits a three. Now, as a defender, you're taught to run to the paint, turn around, find your guy, and then you fan out. But you
Hmm.
protect the basket first. You got guys in Europe that stop at the 3 point line. What do they do now in today's NBA? You see guys run. everybody runs to the 3-point line.
Yeah.
Nobody runs to the basket unless you're making a layup. I mean, shit, nowadays a layup is a bad thing.
Yeah.
A mid-range shot is a bad thing.
Uh-huh.
So once I got there, when I got to Spain, that's when I realized that I had to adjust my game. So that's when I changed my game. I wasn't just a back to the basket, low post guy. I started stepping out, shooting threes, putting the ball on the floor, doing all those things that guys are doing now. So I would my group and my age group was kind of the iteration of the point forward or the point the point center as you talk about with
Right.
Nico. That's where all of that stuff came from. So when I got there in '94, and now how long has it been here? The last 7, 8, 10 years, maybe.
Yeah.
So my point is, I was born too soon, man.
I get it. I get that, man. So looking at your totals, when you were at Illinois, you took a total of 2 3-pointers, and that was your senior year when you took both of them. You made one of them. You were 1 for 2. So
Yeah.
you obviously had to change your game when you went over to Europe, and I'm actually very curious about that. So you were drafted by the Mavericks
Mhm.
in the draft. You decide to pursue a career overseas. Can you kind of walk me through like what your thought process was there, like why you decided to go over there rather than try to stay in the NBA?
Sure. First of all, I'm going to preface that by telling you another story with me and Coach Henson.
Cool.
So take the first three. I think that was at the beginning of the season. I missed it. And the second three was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was senior night. So it was my first game, my last game. At the end of that game, I look over and I tell coach, I was like, well, you do realize I could have been doing that my whole career, right? And again, just as clear-eyed, well, hey, Deon, we had Tommy for that. So again, wasn't my job. So this is
Yeah.
why more 3-point shots did not go up,
Hmm.
simply because there's the difference between then and now when it comes to basketball.
Right.
It also leads me to another one. Coach Underwood asked me our first broadcast with him. He says, Deon, at the end of this game, I got a question for you. I'm like, all right, coach. He comes back. He's like, wouldn't you have liked to have played for me? There was an expletive in front of the other word, but I was like, yes.
Yeah.
LeBron Black is pulling up, shooting 3-point shots, going and playing in the post, and doing all those things that I could have done. I
Uh-huh.
was like, Coach, if I had played for you, I might have 3,000 points instead of 2.
Yes. Yes.
And so yes. But I'm sorry, your question. Oh, why did I go over to Europe?
Hmm.
It started long before basketball. And let me say this: basketball was not my first love.
Okay.
It was a means to an ends to get out of a life that I did not like. And we didn't have a lot when I was growing up, almost next to nothing. But my grandmother would always tell me, she'd be like, "Baby, you're bigger than the village." The village was the area we lived in. They called it the village. And she was like, "You're bigger than the village." So my senior year of high school, we had an opportunity to go and play in Europe. We went to Amsterdam, our high school team, both Simeon and Marshall girls team. So I got my first taste of really seeing something that was different,
Right.
you know,
Hmm.
totally different. Just the way people, not just the way people look, but the way people act, the way people treat you, the food, all of that stuff. So I was highly intrigued and wanted to see and experience that again.
Hmm.
So I'm in the 11th hour of signing my contract with the Dallas Mavericks. My agent calls me and say, "Hold on, I got another offer I have to tell you about. Don't sign it." Okay. So I'm talking to him. I get this contract from this team in Spain. It's more money. Um, it was a kind of a better setup
Hmm.
for than my rookie deal would have been. I mean, I'm talking about they pay for your car, they pay for your house, they pay for your food. Basically the only thing I paid for was gas in my car and my phone bill. That was it. So I'm already making a larger base and everything else. So I talked to Coach Collins. And I'm like, Coach, this just came over the wire. and I'm really thinking about doing it because I want to see the rest of the world, and if I stay here, then I probably won't get to see the rest of the world. You probably, you take your vacations to Hawaii or to the Caribbean or somewhere there, you're not going to the other side of the world to
Hmm.
see what it's like. So he says, Big Junior, I'm gonna tell you this. He says, doesn't matter where you make your money, it's that at the end of the day, you do what you want to do and not what you have to do. So I'm like, then I'm going to do it. I can always come back to the NBA,
Right.
which was my plan,
Hmm.
was to go over for a year, play in Spain, experience all of that, and then come back to the Dallas Mavericks the following season. But in '95, of course, you don't remember. You're far too young.
I was born in 95, so
Yeah,
yeah.
of course. So in '95, the NBA went on strike.
Okay.
And so it was either sit here and wait out the strike, or another bigger offer came in from Spain. So I was like, oh, well, I'm out.
Yeah.
And my agent was like, well, I'll once this ends, we can always pull you out and bring you back.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it was maybe halfway through the season. And he was like, well, you ready to come back? I'm like, no. I'm like, bro, I can't do that. I've given it. And if you know me, then you'll understand. I could have left Illinois when all of that garbage was going on with Bruce Pearl. No,
Hmm.
I gave Illinois my word. I gave Jimmy Collins my word. So I stayed. And I told him, I was like, there's no way in the world I can leave right now. I've given this team my word. So
Hmm.
I'm staying. But in that, I ended up meeting my wife, who eventually became my wife. Um, and so I had no urge
Yeah.
to come back after that, and I was happy. I was comfortable. Her family was coming over. I was able to show my family something different. So I brought my mom over, my brothers over, my cousins over. They all got to experience something that they had never, probably would have never been able to experience in their life. So I just found things that were more important
Yeah.
um, than saying I played in the NBA.
What was your favorite country you got to play in, or like see or visit?
Wow. Wow. Um, the favorite that I got to see, well, living, the favorite was in Israel. And Sevilla, Spain is a close second. Sevilla and Malaga, Spain, and Las Palmas, which is where my oldest daughter was born.
Okay.
They run a close second. But to be able to travel to Russia is absolutely beautiful. I mean, a little dingy on the colors, but the architecture amazing. To be able to go to Prague and see and see those things, to be able to go to Serbia and Belgrade.
Right.
I mean, I've seen more things there than I've seen here.
Yeah, I
I,
bet.
and I mean, and that all of the old charm, the architecture, the people, the various foods. Um, Man, let me just say this: I was very close to never returning to the United States.
I I don't blame you at all, man. Your sound, it's just getting everything paid for. You just got to pay for gas, free food. About a year ago now, I talked to Trey Demps, who played for
Yeah.
Northwestern, and he was talking about his time in Greece, and he was like, "Dude, it was a vacation. I was go from the beach to practice, and it was just the life that you overseas players live. Just sounds incredible, man." I mean, obviously, it worked out for you too. You're widely considered as like one of the greatest American players to ever go play over there. Multiple time Israeli Cup champion, Euro League champion, all of that good stuff. What advice would you have for like a college player now that is about to get ready to go over and start a career overseas?
The easiest thing, and this is one of the quickest things I'll say, because this is what was told to me: don't take the United States with you. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in a positive way. When you go over, don't hold on to just your beliefs and how what you open your mind, open your heart, be what's the word that I want to say? Be vulnerable. because there's so much beauty and things over there to enjoy. If you don't just hang around with, and not again, not a knock, don't just hang with the Americans. Hang out with your whatever country you're in with your teammates.
Mhm.
Get to know the fans. Get to know the city, the culture. If you can learn the language, learn the language. Um, just shed your cloak and make yourself open when you get over there.
Yeah.
That would be my biggest advice to anyone, because I mean, you'll do what I did. I found joy,
Yeah.
you
Absolutely.
know, and I loved being there. And I
Absolutely.
mean, I love it so much we still go back.
Yeah.
we,
Yeah. I bet.
we try
I,
to go every year.
y- I'm sure not this last year with everything, all the crazy stuff, but yeah, dude, that's so awesome, man. That's so cool to hear, like the different experiences and what the game of basketball can do for somebody and everything you're able to see. I'm very, very thankful. So I know we're running out of time here, so I just have a couple more questions. So I'll do them rapid fire. You've been talking about wanting to play for Underwood, seeing if you could sneak the jersey on. Do you still hoop at all? Do you still get some pickup games in?
Unfortunately, no, I
No.
do not. I did a lot of training of people before. Even some of our, LaRon Black and some other guys have come up here, and I've worked out with them and trained them, some high school guys. But as far as me getting out and playing, I haven't played since I coached, since I
Yeah.
stopped coaching. What was that, 4 years ago now? That was the last time I actually played.
Yeah.
There's not enough old man leagues around here, and I don't have I don't have a ton of time to do it anyway.
Right.
So no, haven't played in a minute. That's why they were going to catch me, man, because they'd have been like, "Who is this dude? He can't jump. He can't. Who the
So,
heck is that out there?"
you think you could still dunk?
After some warm ups, yes.
Yeah.
After a little stretching, a few warms, get everything lubricated, no doubt.
Do you have like one moment in your basketball career? I'm sure you could think of a couple, maybe one college, one pro moment that are like your favorite that stick out to you more than any others.
Yes, no doubt in my mind. And the first one you mentioned college, and it would be not the actual breaking of Eddie Johnson's record, because that's not a big thing to me, but being able to share that with my grandmother. I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but I was able to walk out on the court with my grandmother and being
Yeah.
able to share that with her, because she sacrificed a lot to raise me, and so to be able to share that with her, it was important. Um, Professional career, and it's really along the lines of the same thing.
Mhm.
Winning the EuroLeague championship and being able to celebrate that with my wife and with her family. There's a huge park out in Israel that after we won, I mean, we were probably 50,000 people in this park with this stage set up, maybe more, where
Mhm.
we're out there just having one big party after winning the EuroLeague championship in Tel Aviv. And I was able to have my wife and family and her family, well, my family,
Yeah.
there with me to celebrate that. So it's really not necessarily the game; it's the being able to celebrate all of the camaraderies and race relationships and family that I did. So those would be
Right.
two of the biggest ones.
How crazy do those those EuroLeague crowds get?
Oh
I've seen videos, man. It looks insane.
man, let me tell you, you can take your best college game, and I love the Orange Crush.
Hmm.
The Orange Crush, I believe, is the best fan base in college basketball. You can take them. You can take the Duke Crazies. You can take the Buffalo Bills
Bills
Maniac
Mafia,
Bills
yeah.
Mafia, and you can lump them all together, and it would still not come close to some of the things that go on with in the fan base in Europe. I mean, just you got guys playing big old drums while you're going. I mean, it's like a huge party in the stands while you're playing the game. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. And unless you experience it, it's hard to even talk about it.
Yeah. Like I've said, all I've seen is videos and see like fireworks and shit going off, and it's just
Yeah.
like holy hell. Uh, so Deon, this has been awesome. So quickly, what's your tournament prediction? We Illini going to bring this home? Is this finally the year?
We get there, we get to the finals, we play Gonzaga. I truly do not believe, and Gonzaga is a great team. I think they're an excellent offensive team. I question their defense. And this is where we have the advantage because we're an excellent defensive team and we're an excellent offensive team. And they have not, for sure, have not faced anyone like Kofi Colbert.
Yeah.
So he is going to be an absolute handful for them. Well, shit, they haven't faced anyone like Io DeSumo
Yeah.
or Andre Curbelo. And I just think we're too complete, in my opinion. I mean, I know a lot of the experts are riding the fact that they're undefeated, and they are really, really good. They're great. This is probably the best team I've seen Mark Few with, and he's had some amazing teams. But I just think Illinois is complete, and they're deep enough to be able to win this game. So I'm going Illinois, baby.
Illinois all the way. Fighting Illini. Deon, living legend, all-time leading scorer in Illinois basketball history, 2,129 points, fourth all-time in rebounds, second all-time in blocks. So, I mean, you got that on Coach Henson. You're on the leaderboard for the blocks too with your defense.
Well, I was first for a while. When I left, I was number one.
Yeah.
And then now I passed it up. So.
Nana came around. Illinois Mr. Basketball, first team All-American, McDonald's All-American, Catalan League champion, 3-time Israeli Cup champion, 3-time Israeli League champion, 2-time EuroLeague champion, Deon Thomas. Thank you so much, man. This has been absolutely incredible.
Andy, my pleasure, brother.
Hey, go Illini.
Go Illini.